The amount of people in Canada opting to use MAID services has absolutely exploded. This could not be a more important video for people to listen to and watch, and kind of shows the state of this country. And I'll try and tread as lightly as I possibly can in this video. So a man tried to block his daughter's request for MAID. The judge's response revealed something that should alarm you. And this is very, very sad story that we're going to go into, and it's in Alberta in this particular case. But I'm sure many of you would probably agree with MAID if it's the circumstances that somebody has a terminal illness and their quality of life is in rapid decline and they just want to let go of life early. I'm sure nobody would oppose that. And that's how it begins. And I just want to make that clear, because Canada started by going down that route, and now we're expanding and expanding and expanding, and they're trying to expand to even mental health disorders. And as I've stated many times on this channel, we are in a mental health crisis in Canada. So when you look at crises of mental health, and then you have a lot of challenges and real problem points in people's lives, things like housing, inflation, and the cost of living, it really becomes evident that MAID being available to those with mental health problems could be catastrophic. And we already covered a case actually that I remember last year where a guy was literally trying to end his own life through MAID. He had a disability. So it's sick. It really is sick. And it's so sad how broken this country is. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get into this. Let me stop rambling onwards here. So out of Alberta comes a case that raises more questions about Canada's law on MAID and provides a stark reminder of how little oversight there is in a system that results in thousands of people dying each year. So this involves a 27-year-old Calgary woman who wants to end her life through MAID, and her father who went to court to block her request. The wrinkle, and perhaps the tragedy in this case, is that the woman, identified only as MV, has autism and ADHD, lives with her parents, and has never had an independent life. Her father, identified as WV, argued that her condition is mental, not physical, so she doesn't qualify for MAID under current law. Her condition, he said, led to her being obsessed with MAID. So this is really, really sad when you think about it. And I just want you to also think that this is happening in Alberta. You know, unfortunately, you are really just not living in reality if you think Alberta is a conservative province. Two of the most major cities in Alberta, Calgary and Edmonton, are about as woke as you could possibly get within Canada. And I would say when you compare Alberta to the United States, you're talking about more like Oregon or Washington versus people thinking Alberta is like Texas. You know, it's highly conservative. It's really not. And I'm not saying I'm a conservative, by the way, because I'm not. And I'm also not a liberal because no party represents me. No party represents my views. We just vote for the least worst person. So I just want to outline that this is happening in Alberta. So Justice Colin Feasby of Alberta's Court of King's Bench this week tossed out an injunction that WV had obtained to stop his daughter from accessing MAID. The effect of his ruling is that she can end her life, although the judge stayed his ruling for 30 days to allow time for appeal. So basically, what this has led to is, unfortunately, in this case, the woman can now end her life through using MAID. But you just have to think through this case, and I've linked it in the description to the Toronto Star article. Go check it out, read the whole thing. It's just unbelievably sad, in my opinion, that we're getting to this point. And soon enough, it doesn't even matter, because the guy points out here that it's more that it's a mental condition, not a physical one. Right here is where he points that out. But soon enough, we are going to be covering mental conditions with this. And that is really alarming, like I said, because of the mental health crisis that we're in Canada. It is so alarming that this may actually be covered. It's just unbelievable. And I have to tread lightly, obviously, we're on YouTube here talking about this, but it's just crazy. And please let me know in the comments what you think about this, because I would love to hear your thoughts and I would love to read your comments on this. And then if you actually look at the euthanasia records, you can see that Alberta is up 41%. You can see that Ontario is up 27%, Quebec up 51%, nationwide it's up 34%. This is 2022, by the way. We're not even talking about 2023, and 21% in Nova Scotia. So again, I'll link this tweet below from Ian Miles Chung. But yeah, this is absolutely insane, in my opinion. I want to bring this slightly back towards politics because, again, you would be led to believe that the politicians in Canada are like this. This is what they want you to believe, that they are far apart. They are very, very different. You know, Pierre is very conservative. He wants to appeal to all the conservative voters, but you forget he also has to appeal to all Jagmeet's voters and try and appeal to the Trudeau voters as well. So what this eventually leads to is this, where they're all essentially the same. They're really divisive when they're in the House of Commons and they're trying to act like they're completely different. But in actual fact, they're very, very similar when it comes down to what they do, not what they say they will do, which are two different things. And I think people should be very careful in Canada when it comes to stuff like this, because a lot of people are swayed by what people say, especially politicians. But the reality is that it doesn't matter, because it's what they do that really matters. I mean, Danielle Smith, she talked a lot about doing so many different things, but when it came down to it, the reality of what she actually did, two different things. She did stimulus, she pumped the mass migration plan, she did two things nobody asked for, nobody voted for, and ultimately led to a massive increase in the cost of living in Alberta. So it's very, very interesting when I think of these politicians, because I think much of them are the same. And even though I think Trudeau is the worst prime minister in Canadian history, I think Pierre will get in, I just don't think that people understand how little things will actually change because of the power structures behind the scenes. So you have to bear that in mind. And now I want you to listen to this just for a laugh.
To build a good middle class life, to do as well as your parents or better, has always been the promise of Canada. Today, for too many younger Canadians, that promise just isn't being fulfilled. The hurdles are too high. Young Canadians are not getting a fair chance. Many younger Canadians had a really tough introduction to their adult lives.
And just think about that for a second, guys, because she's talking about how tough it is for people, but these are all self-inflicted, self-induced problems by the government and the central planners themselves and the power structures behind the scenes. These are all the things that are making it difficult. It's not a result of just, oh, it just so happens that it turned out this way. It's as a result of conscious decisions people like Chrystia Freeland have made. And she is a trustee of the World Economic Forum. She is a globalist. She's an ex-journalist. We know all these different things, so it's no wonder that she's trying to virtue signal. And then coming out of True North as well, they're trying to get through a pay hike right now for MPs, which is just crazy because I don't agree any of them should be getting a pay rise when you think of what a poor job they are all doing. They are all doing a miserable job right now. So do you think they deserve a pay rise? Let me know once again in the comments. And then you may not have seen this, guys, and I just want to end on a really good positive note, actually, was that there was a carbon tax protest that snarled traffic just west of Calgary. So this happened, and I think this is great because when people do come together as one and drop all their political views views and come together as one to attack the issues that we really need to focus on, cost of living, housing crisis, then you can actually get things done. But when you have politicians that are just basically trying to make everybody as divisive and divided as possible, that doesn't help. Whether you're on the right or the left, that doesn't help. In fact, I was speaking to my grandfather and I was asking him lots of questions about history and how people got things done back then when they had equally as bad struggles like inflation and different things. And really what it comes down to is after the Second World War, what happened was political parties realized that they need to work together to rebuild the country. And that's when countries work their best, because then it doesn't matter who's in charge, because the agenda that the people want goes forward with whichever party is in charge. But now you have parties come in, they tear down one other party, what they did, the next party comes in, does the same thing, and just goes back and forth. And it's very short-termism, if that is even a word, because they're just trying to get voted in. So you have this populism like Trump and Pierre, and Trudeau is like a left populist as well. So you have these populists that talk a lot but don't actually do a lot. So I just wanted to note that because I think it's very interesting to look at prior history. I'm a history buff myself. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here. If you're looking for a VPN to get around the censorship laws in Canada, go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. I will see you in the next one. Take care.